Hello, welcome back. Did you read chapters 5 to 8? I just wanted to reiterate before I started that it's really imperative that you read them because my sort of lessons and summaries are just from the things that I felt like stood out. So don't rely on just this because you miss a whole chunk of what you need to be learning if you don't read the chapters. Okay, now let's jump right into it. So from Joshua 5 to 8, the first thing I noted was that God demanded circumcision of all the males in Israel. Now, the generation that had been circumcised had died out, and these ones that were born in the wilderness sojourn most likely hadn't been. Now, I don't know if it was because, it wasn't a conducive environment or it was just something that just got swept under the carpet, but nevertheless, God demanded this, and this act was another reminder to the Israelites of their covenant and special relationship with God. The day after they observed Passover, they ate the produce of the land where they camped, and after that, the manna ceased. Imagine that. The first day they ate from that land or the things around, manna stopped. Now, I just imagined what it would have been like for those, because, this is 40 years. Some people had eaten only manna all their lives. They didn't know what it was to eat anything else. So this was just so amazing that once they did, this shows you that there's no gaps in God's provision. Once something stops, something else starts again. The appearance of the commander of the army of the Lord, in my opinion, was a theophany. Now, some people believe that was an angel, the angel of war. But one thing I did notice in my Bible version, this was angel with a capital A. And I know that angel with a capital A usually refers to like God. And what helped confirm this was one, the Abraham, just like when Abraham was told, take off your shoes, Joshua was told, take off your shoes, this is holy ground. And I believe that wherever God is holy ground, right? So I don't think this was just another angel. This was a theophany, as far as I'm concerned. Remember what I said a theophany was? Yes, the physical manifestation or appearance of God in human form. And then besides, God had promised in Exodus 23:20, behold, I send an angel, capital A, before you to keep you in the way and bring you to the place I have prepared. The significance of number 7 in the destruction of Jericho wasn't lost on me. Now, anybody, and then I used to love 7, like as a child, number 7, because you think, oh, lucky number 7. But now knowing that 7 is the number of the Lord, it's the number of perfection, it's the number, that God uses to do his things. Now I love 7 even more. So now, they were asked to march around the walls of the town of Jericho for 7 days, with 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets, and on the 7th day they will march around 7 times, and the wall came down. The Lord, by his power, took down the city that had scared their ancestors 40 years earlier using psychological warfare. Now that marching around the thing, I thought about it. Imagine living in Jericho and saying, oh my God, what's going to happen? And they are hearing them marching silently and just trumpets. First day, second day, third. You're like, what the heck is happening? So just imagining that, I'm sure they had already lost the battle in their mind. And then all of a sudden, without any whatever, they just hear the walls crashing down. Yeah, God is awesome in that way. The walls of Jericho falling flat was also a sign of God's power. Now, I used to think as a child when they said and that song we used to sing, the walls of Jericho, but now I find out that it was one wall. It was one wall that gave them access, and they saved Rahab and destroyed everyone. Do you know why I said so? Rahab lived on the wall. Remember, her house was on the wall, and that was why she was able to let them down. So if it was all the walls that fell down, then Rahab's house would have been destroyed as well. So she and her family were saved, but then they were kept outside. Now, this was something I realized as well. They were kept outside the camp of Israel. And that's, remember if we go back to like the beginning with all the rules, because they were not Israelites and probably unclean, they weren't meant to go in. So maybe obviously for them to have been absolved, they would have had to go through the whole purification, shaving their hair, their nails and all of that. But for now, I noticed when they said they were kept outside the camp of Israel. Now, after defeating Jericho, Israel was now feeling hype as far as I'm concerned. And Israel's defeat at Ai was evidence of how one man's sin affects the whole nation. Remember, I'd spoken about this the day before yesterday, how as a covenant community it was a collective responsibility for holiness. Now, Achan, the guy who stole stuff from Jericho, was the reason why they got defeated in Ai. But then for that battle in Ai, Joshua was overconfident as far as I was concerned, because he didn't consult with the Lord. He just went to attack, and then they lost 38 men. Perhaps the death of those 38 men could have been avoided if Joshua had gone to the Lord. But then obviously he didn't know that there was sin. And if only Achan had waited, he would have been able to get some of the plunder from Ai, because God lets them keep the plunder in Ai this time. But then obviously, this is what I found out. For Jericho was the first fruit. It was the first war that they had won. So everything there belongs to God, which is why God said destroy and only bring the sacred items into his treasury. So after Ai and all the rest, he could have gotten it, but Achan, nah. Anyway, going back, God used military strategy to defeat Ai, unlike in Jericho. Remember what I said yesterday about God doing like the miracles but in different ways? For this one, he told them what to do. Ambush them from the back, go to the front, get them in the wilderness, turn them back, burn their land. Like that was like strategy, unlike Jericho, where it was just marching around and God gave them that victory. Joshua's renewal of the covenant by building an altar on Mount Etal and fulfilling Moses' command by reading the words of the law was, like, to me, the perfect ending to that chapter. Now, here are my lessons. Obeying God sometimes requires blind faith and total trust, especially when his instructions don't seem to make sense. Case in point, marching around Jericho when you are supposed to be at war. He's always working, even when we don't see it. His structures, oh Lord, he's sometimes teaching us to trust him when we don't see him and when things don't seem to make sense. So now that's a lesson that I've kept close to my heart, that no matter what the situation looks like or the instructions that I get seem crazy, just trust God. Tomorrow I'll be sharing lessons from Joshua 9 to 11. Hope you read it. Hope you meet me here. Have a good day. Bye.